Hey Argo fans, Daniele Franceschi joining you with the Argos Admirals, and week 2 has arrived. Your Argonauts entering this week of play off a short week of rest as the team, of course, played on Friday night in a thrilling season opener, 39-34, defeating the Hamilton Tiger Cats, their arch rivals, and now they're turning their attention to the BC Lions as they visit Vancouver and BC Place, a stadium that has not been very kind to the Argonauts. They have not won a game in that stadium in nearly 10 years. That's right, dating back to 2002 was the last time the Argonauts went to BC and had a successful road trip, defeating the Lions. Of course, last year they went to BC later on in the season, lost. It was a Saturday afternoon game in British Columbia, losing to the Lions, and also losing back in Week 6 of last season at home against the BC Lions. Of course, that means that the only team that they failed to defeat last year on their road to the Grey Cup was those BC Lions, which were the defending Grey Cup champions in 2011. A lot of teams just have a difficulty playing there. They've really done a good job since reopening that stadium of holding their home field advantage. Really, they've done a great job. And the only major loss that I would say, of course, you look back, they won the Grey Cup in that building in 2011. The only major loss for them on the docket was against the Calgary Stampeders in the Western Final, with a spot in last year's Grey Cup on the line, in which Kevin Glenn and the Calgary Stampeders really put on one of their best performances in recent memory to beat the Lions and upset them en route to, of course, losing to the Argonauts in the Grey Cup game. Now we move on and we look at the offense of the Argonauts and some of the things they did well. There was certainly plenty to like from the Argonauts offense on Friday night. Ricky Ray going 24 of 34, 368 yards and 4 touchdowns. Woo! Definitely you would say that's special opening day performance. He earned CFL Offensive Player of the Week honors, but of course, not to give any less credit to Henry Burst of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who had a tremendous game of his own, 361 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers as well. Like Ricky Ray, he just came out on the short end of a 39-34 victory on the Argonauts' part. Chad Cackert picked up right where he left off as well, having a good performance. Only carried the ball 10 times, which is a little bit surprising, considering that the Argonauts want to make him a focal point in the offense, but did rack up 112 yards, including a 57-yard touchdown where he just burst through the line. An incredible touchdown for Chad Cackart entering this week's matchup against BC. There's an opportunity for him to go wild. Of course, we saw BC take on Calgary last week, and John Cornish, who's currently leading the league in rushing after 1 week with 172 yards, he went off. Like I said, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns all along the ground, not to mention what he did in the passing game. He was fantastic. And Drew Tate also had a successful night, throwing 3 touchdowns against that Lions defense. It's certainly a defense that can be that you can have success against if you're Ricky Ray, Chad Cackert, and of course we saw a whole cast of receiving characters do their part on Friday night, with Spencer Watt being really the unsung hero along with Dontrell Inman, but Watt having a career game, having 3 receptions for 83 yards and a touchdown, and of course having to kick his own extra point after scoring a touchdown due to the injury to Swayze Waters, which we'll get to later on. Ricky Ray hit 6 different receivers in this past week's game. Dontrell Inman included, adding a touchdown. Jason Barnes having 2 touchdowns on only 3 receptions, so that tells you something. Chad Owens doing his thing, 9 receptions for 95 yards, leading the way in the receiving game. Of course, doing his thing, returning kicks and punts, doing a very good job, accumulating a lot of yards as well. Defensively for the Argonauts, of course, when you look at the final score from this past week's game, 39-34, it was a barn burner. However, some encouraging things to build upon for this young and inexperienced defense, as in the second half they only surrendered 3 points. And as Scott Milanovich noted in his post-game press conference from Friday night, if you eliminate that first quarter in which the team gave up plenty of yardage and plenty of points, he said overall the defense stepped up and played well when it mattered. In the second half particularly, he alluded to the 3 points that the team only surrendered, as well, noting that Nikos Brown and Cleon Lang had huge sacks, big-time situations late in the fourth quarter, securing the victory for the Argonauts. And, of course, Jaleel Carter making a big play, knocking down Andy Fantuz's pass on the final play of the game as the Ticats drove deep into Argonauts territory, had an opportunity to win the game, but Jaleel Carter knocking it away, saving the day. Definitely, in my eyes, when you look at what the secondary did on Friday night, there's a lot of room for improvement, and everybody will see that. Scott Milanovich is trying to point out just the little positives, and same thing with Chris Jones, and I'm sure he's not happy. They leaned heavily on their linebacking core. They had a lot of tackles, Robert McCoon, Marcus Ball, and Brandon Isaac. However, they cannot cover the receivers. They cannot rush the passer. There's only a few things that linebacking core can hold together, and that's number one, they can control the run game. They can control where everybody needs to be. However, it's everybody else that has to make the plays around them. When this secondary, which has Pat Watkins, Matt Black, Jaleel Carter, surrenders 361 yards passing to Henry Burris, it's definitely something to be concerned about entering this week and going up against another great quarterback in Travis Lulay. And the BC Lions are not happy themselves. Offensively, they did put up a decent performance overall. 32 points is no slouch. We saw the Tiger Cats put up 34 and the Argos put up 39. And the Argos, of course, 39 in a winning effort. But in the Canadian Football League, defense is important, and we've seen that. And the BC Lions are aware of that as well. Emmanuel Arsenault, who is currently ranked 5th in the league in receiving, had just 3 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown. Travis Lulay was pretty solid, to say the least. Had 21 completions on 36 pass attempts, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception in there. But the big key that when you look at the statistic-wise for the BC Lions, you don't want Travis Lulay leading your team in rushing, and he did that last week against Calgary. Had 55 yards rushing. Andrew Harris was rather non-existent in this football game against the Calgary Stampeders. Had only 50 yards, 5 touches for 20 yards rushing, which needs to be improved upon. And they're definitely going to look to pick apart this Toronto Argonauts defense that struggled to contain C.J. Gable, the rookie running back from the Hamilton Tiger Cats, in the receiving game. Gable had 2 touchdown receptions on Friday night. Of course, we saw deficiencies in the special teams return game, which could lead to a big night for Tim Brown, the the BC Lions star returner. Of course, we saw Lindsey Lamar light up the Argos for a beautiful 104-yard kick return touchdown, which really seized momentum and then got this game going back and forth offensive showdown as the Argonauts scored the opening touchdown of the game with Jason Bard's 8-yard touchdown, and then Ticats came right back on the ensuing kickoff and had Lindsey Lamar storm down the sidelines, 104 yards, really shocking, sucking a lot of the life out of the defense and special teams units. But however, Scott Milanovich noted that beyond that, he gave a lot of credit to the Argonauts special teams units, especially with Swayze Waters going down. He was very impressed with the way that the special teams came together and really locked down after that, saying, wow, we don't have our kicker, and they went out and did a tremendous job of picking up the level of play and effort just overall, just flying around and preaching what Chris Jones says. If you make a mistake, you're going to make mistakes. Football, it's inevitable like in life. You're going to make mistakes. However, it's if you make up with that with speed, and if you're going 100 miles an hour, you're going to make some good plays out there, regardless of the scenario or situation. As for the kicking game for both teams, the BC Lions had a rookie kicker going into their season opener against the Calgary Stampeders. Paul McCallum was unable to go for them. He should be back this Thursday night, but the big story comes from the Argonauts side, where Noel Prefontaine will likely suit up to make his season debut. That's right, Noel Prefontaine, a familiar face and a familiar name that Argonaut fans know very, very well. Swayze Waters, unfortunately, suffered an injury while kicking off in the third quarter of Friday's football game. Scott Milanovich noting not too often that he's ever seen a kicker really get hurt while kicking. He says mostly in the CFL he's seen kickers get hurt while trying to make tackles or trying to make plays along the sideline, get out of the way, things of that nature, getting blocked. However, he was rather surprised to see Swayze get hurt kicking off the football. But nonetheless, it has happened, and Noel Prefontaine was brought in for precautionary reasons by Jim Barker and by Scott Milanovich. There's no better guy who any team would rather have than Noel Prefontaine as a security blanket. So Prefontaine will likely suit up as a starter on Thursday night, which is surprising. Of course, he was released in December by the Argonauts, and here he is in Week 2 of the 2013 season. Something new I want to introduce to you guys this week is my 3 keys to victory for your Toronto Argonauts. What the Argos need to do well in order to win each week, and this week we'll start off with the BC Lions, of course, and what they need to do well against them in order to win. And offensively, it's got to be razor sharp. You got to continue what you did last week and get everybody involved. Ricky hit 6 different receivers on Friday night against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He's going to need to have a similar game this week. Distribute the ball effectively, get the ball into Chad Cackert's hands, and make sure that Chad Owens also gets his touches. You got to be a dynamic offensively. The Lions defense is struggling, but they do have a strong linebacking core as well, of course, with Adam Bighill, Anton McKenzie. Then in the secondary, they've got a few good faces as well. Corey Banks, of course, Dante Marsh, some familiar guys that everybody will know, of course. And along the defensive line, they got a strong D line that can get after the quarterback. It's going to be a battle for sure for the Argonauts offense. However, they really need to dictate what happens on Thursday night if they want an opportunity to beat the BC Lions. Second key to victory for the Argonauts on Thursday night in BC. I go back to the defensive side of the football and I look to the secondary, a youthful, inexperienced secondary that has a few veterans mixed in there. And one of the big guys that I really like personally as a player, from a player standpoint, and as a person, and who I think needs to have a big performance on Thursday night, is Patrick Watkins. Yes, Pat entering his second season with the Argonauts and in the CFL in general. Last week, he was burned a couple times on plays, and he was not satisfied with the way he played. Neither was Chris Jones of his defensive performance overall. But Pat Watkins, Jaleel Carter, who played in the Grey Cup game, starting in place of Watkins in actually both the Eastern Final and the Grey Cup. But I look really to the safety position. When we talk about a quarterback on the defensive side of the football, it's the safety, and that's Matt Black's job. He had 2 interceptions in preseason Week 1 action against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Didn't have much playing time in preseason Week 2 against the Montreal Alouettes. But to say the least, as the quarterback of the defense, you cannot allow Henry Burris and a Hamilton Tiger Cats offense to throw 361 yards on you. And that's certainly something that secondary doesn't feel good about entering this week's game. However, they got to get rid of that out of their minds, turn their attention to Thursday night. You're dealing with a really good quarterback and a really potent offense as well. They've got tons of weapons. Sean Gore, Emmanuel Arsenault returning to the CFL this year. Of course, like I said, he's ranked 5th in the league in receiving. There's so many potent weapons. The secondary really needs to step up this week. And again, for the third key to the game, I go back to the defensive side of the football, this time on the defensive line in the trenches. Khalif Mitchell returning to British Columbia, the team that he played for in 2012 and 2011. Man, he was great in 2011, had a breakout season last year, was suspended, but had issues both on and off the football field. Didn't play much, didn't account for many good games. However, this is an opportunity for him to prove to the BC Lions organization that he can be an elite pass rusher and an elite lineman in this league. An elite lineman is somebody that, in essence, don't always have to be a guy that gets after the quarterback. If you're an elite lineman, they're going to place extra attention towards you, and that'll open up the door for other guys, and that'll open up opportunities for guys like Jonathan Williams and the linebacking core of Brendan Isaac, Robert McCoon, and Marcus Ball to get after the quarterback on unique blitz schemes that Chris Jones likes to run. He brought a few of those last week, got to the quarterback late in the game. Cleon Lang, of course, adding a sack. Nikos Brown had a sack coming on a blitz. So there's opportunities that Khalif Mitchell certainly going to be a key to victory for me. He's going to have to bring energy on the defensive side of the football. He did that last week, and that was in my eyes something that when you're on the defensive side of the football and you see a guy like Khalif Mitchell just getting so excited and so amped up before a play, it's certainly positive. It's always positive energy, no matter how bad the team defense was playing last week, giving up 34 points. Khalif, right to the very end, to the final play, you never give up, and he showed that. And I think he's going to be a key factor in this one on Thursday night. As I said earlier, the Argonauts have not won a game on the road in BC Place in nearly 10 years. Yeah, that's an incredible statistics when you think about that. Something that I'm sure the Argonauts themselves don't even recognize that it's been that long. However, there's an opportunity to get rid of that streak. That comes Thursday night, 10 p.m. kickoff, of course, Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time in Vancouver. The game can be watched live on TSN, as well heard on TSN 1050 Radio with Mike Hogan having the call with his co-host, Sandy Annunziata. We hope you guys enjoy the game on Thursday night. Of course, hope that streak ends at 10 years and hopefully doesn't continue. The Argonauts have not defeated the BC Lions over the course of the past few years. Of course, last year losing twice to them, once at home and once in BC. Let's change that around. Let's get a winning streak going against these BC Lions. Argos trying to make it 2-0 on the 2013 season, and we hope you guys enjoy the game on Thursday night, 10 p.m. kickoff, Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you all on Thursday night, Argos fans.